Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Breakfast with Blaha. And today I'm having Greek yogurt, frozen cherries, and almond butter. All right, let's talk a little bit about the psychological benefits of rotating through max effort lifts. In the past, I've discussed quite a bit with this about using it for everything from testing weak points. We used it to avoid overuse injuries, all of these things. But I think one of the things that we have to remember with the conjugate system and rotating maxes are the absolutely enormous psychological benefits. And for those who don't understand, I'll give you examples. What we do is we rotate movements based upon what equipment you have available. And for me as a coach, at any given time, I have probably 20 clients who are on conjugate, right, who aren't running some sort of linear programming. My novices run a lot of linear, but I usually have, on average, about 20 who are on conjugate these days. And they all have access to different equipment. Some have specialty bars, some have bands, some have chains, some have bench blocks, some don't. Some have different EVA foam pads we can use. So here's what we do. I come up with different lifts that they can max on. All right, we come up with different lifts they can max on. And we use these lifts in such a way that on every max effort upper day, which is once a week, we max on one press. Most of my lifters on lower body days max on one lower body exercise. So we basically hit two maxes every week. And I only have a small number of lifters who max on two exercises in a day. So for the lower body, this ends up being generally some sort of squat variation, some sort of deadlift variation, some sort of good morning variation. So we have a lot more variety there to choose from. So what does this mean? It means I come up with different things. So let's say for upper body day. For example, I have one of my lifters that has very little equipment. He's just got a power bar at home. He's got an axle bar at home, but he's got bench blocks. Okay, he's got a set of bench blocks. He's basically got basically only one bench block, the larger one. So that means that for him, what can we do? Well, we can do a normal grip bench, do a medium grip bench, we can do a close grip bench. All right, I can also have him do a really wide grip bench for a max. Let's just say we have 4 different maxes with the straight bar right there on his flat bench, and he doesn't have an adjustable bench. So we've got those 4. He's got bench blocks, and I usually just have him bench block with his normal grip. I could change it around and do others. And so we've got 4 of those. We've got a 5 board, 4 board, 3 board, 2 board. We have up to 8 presses he can do. Can have him do a floor press. That's a 9th press. Do a dead pin off of pins, like about 2 inches off of his chest. We have 10 presses. Then I can have him do axle bar. And this is if we don't do any overhead. But I can have him do axle bar, bench press, axle bar, floor press. So I've got 12 exercises for this guy. So over a 12-week rotation, while still doing just chest presses, no overhead pressing, I can have him do a different lift. Have him do a different lift every time. So I can run through these 12, and he can go 12 weeks without maxing on the same thing again. So what does that mean? That's 12 opportunities to hit a PR. It's 12 opportunities, because every one of those is a separate lift, and he records them. He records each one of those separately on a spreadsheet in his notes, and he knows at any time, the last time he hit a max on the medium grip bench, he knows if it was with, say, 315. And he knows that his medium grip bench versus his closed versus his normal bench, it's about 5 pounds difference for this lifter. All right, so let's say he can do 305 with a close grip, then he can usually do 310 with the medium, 315 with the normal grip. He also tends to be about equal on his floor press to his normal bench, which is not normal. He's got a little bit longer arms, isn't as thick. He doesn't quite touch the chest. He also tends to be off of a two board about 10 pounds stronger than his bench. So people say, so what does this tell us psychologically? Well, if he comes in and he does each of these lifts every 12 weeks, he's used to hitting a PR every single time. Because realistically, you can get a 5 or a 2.5 pound PR every 12 weeks as an advanced lifter if everything's going good. Usually. Not always in his case because he's not always bulking. He tends to stay at a lighter body weight with a very, very, very low body fat. But if you're used to PRing all the time, that programs your brain that every time you max, you PR. Every single time. For months on end. Now people say, but these are different. They're 12 different lifts. Are they really PRs? Of course they are. Or different exercise. And if you do them every 12 weeks, we should be able to get enough muscle mass on you to hit a PR. Okay, so that's useful to us psychologically. It's useful to us psychologically. We also know where our weak points are, and that's important. If we know how far apart your close grip bench is versus your wider grip, or how they spread out, we know whether that person needs more pec or more tricep. Right? We know where to specialize. We know where to specialize. So if their pecs are really weak, we need to be doing more pause benching. We do illegal wide benching, maybe more floor press for this person. He doesn't have access to a lot of different equipment. I wish he had dumbbells. But we can look at this and know where we need to work. And if we know where we need to work and we improve there, that person knows they put in the work. Their supplemental lifts all went up. They know that they should be good to PR. Because they always PR. It's what they do. They get into that habit and they expect it. And it programs your brain to think like a winner. Because we're not coming in missing lifts because we're hitting the same lift every time. You don't want to keep getting beat up by the same exercise. It's psychologically defeating. The other benefit psychologically tells you when you're ready to hit a PR on your classic lift. Say with this lifter, if every time he can floor press a given weight, he knows that he can bench it. He knows that if he can hit a close grip with a certain weight, he can always bench 10 pounds more than that. Okay? He knows that he can always hit 10 pounds lighter with a bench press than he can with a two board. Okay? We find these patterns. So what's this tell us? It tells us that we're ready to PR. So if I have him come in and hit a two board, let's say this person hasn't been able to get to a 315 bench. He comes in and off of a two board, he gets 325. And just hit 325 off of that. Well, in his mind, he knows he only gets 10 pounds out of that two board. So he should be able to come in and hit 315. And he's used to handling the heavier weight. Floor press. If he comes in and hits a 315 floor press, he knows that he's ready to PR. So a lot of times we will look at these different movements and we will do supplemental work to improve those. People say, yeah, but it's only carrying over that lift. But not really, because that person knows their ratios. And if we can push and get a PR on, say, his board press, or a PR on his floor press, he knows he can hit a PR on the flat bench, the lift that we really care about, the classic lift. And so it also programs us for success. Because in our mind, we've already hit the lift. We're already capable of it. Now we just have to do it. It removes the stress. It removes the doubt. It removes the anxiety. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.